to the Car Guys. This week, my beloved 355 Spider.
I am so excited this week. This car is the reason why Damian and I are friends. This car was the first Ferrari I'd ever been out in. Today, we've got bright sunshine, we've got the top down. Hang on tight, because here we go.
So here it is. This is my 355 Spider. This is the first supercar that I ever bought. It's the one car that I will never sell, and I bought this car in 2003. 2003, and I'm never selling it. This is it. This is Genesis. In this week's episode, we're going to take you through this car in depth. Every single inch of it we're going to go through. We're going to tell you exactly how it works. We're going to show you how well it goes.
This is probably the last of the breed of those kind of original, throw it together and see what comes out the other side type Ferraris.
This is, in my opinion, the most beautiful modern Ferrari ever created. Discuss.
I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
There's no bad angles on a 355 Spider. I just absolutely love it. It's in classic Rosso Corsa, so the flat red. It's got creamer leather inside. It's a manual car. It's right-hand drive. It's exactly what you want.
Can't wait to get my hands on that manual gearbox.
This was a proper sweet spot. In Spider form, with the roof down, tonneau on, windows down, it is such a beautiful, sleek shape. You know, it's got this lovely line across the car. On the side profile, which you are looking at now, I mean, just look at it. Look at it.
Stunning. It's so low and so wide as well. It's got that proper supercar. You're sitting on the floor. The windscreen level's really low, and yet the car's really wide. It's got big hips on it, and it feels like a proper sports car.
Yeah. When you have a manual polished shifter like this, this is when you start to look at the paddle shifts and realise what we've lost.
Of course, back when we were young and sports cars and supercars were supercars, everything that was anything had pop-up headlights, and this one is no different. You see, look how cool they look.
The actual door handle is located under here. You've got to be in the know to be able to even get in one of these cars. So you reach into the side scoop, put your hand underneath, and you can see that there's a latch under there. You then pull that towards you, the door opens, and out we go. And it's a nice big wide open door as well.
Another great feature about this car, because of its age, it's only running 18-inch wheels on the front, which in its day were massive, but because now modern Ferraris are running 20s. We've also got only steel discs, and look how small they are compared to a modern car. So a modern Ferrari, its discs are nearly as big as the rim of this car in itself. Wow, just look at this engine bay. This thing is so clean, it's almost like the moment it left the factory. None of your plastic covers hiding bits of the engine bay. This thing's open to the elements. You can see every single component that's going on here, especially those beautiful red rocker covers.
This is a 3.5 litre naturally aspirated V8, 5 valves per cylinder. Revs to 9,000 RPM.
9,000?
268 pound-feet of torque, which by modern standards is obviously pretty puny.
Yeah, I think the Fiesta does that now. What are we talking brake horsepower?
A simply mighty 375 brake horsepower.
That's not a lot, is it?
It's not a lot, but at the time, this is 1996, this car.
Well, this is kind of the first time where Ferraris were starting to be mass-produced and people actually wanted to buy them.
And they were reliable.
And they were reliable, yeah. They weren't shonky old donkeys that had come out of some dodgy factory in Italy.
Top speed, 183 miles an hour.
Amazing. How much does it weigh? Because there's not a huge amount of horsepower, as we know, but this thing will lift its skirts and get to 60 in under 5 seconds, so it's no slouch.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds, 0 to 60, 183 mile an hour top speed.
0 to 100 miles an hour comes up in 10.8 seconds, which is pretty quick.
And it weighs just under 1,500 kilograms.
So it's not that light either, then?
No, it's not, but then look at the size of the engine for a start.
Just on its own.
When you do the cam belt job, every years, it's a full engine out job. So this car has just had its cam belts done, and this whole engine was sat outside of the car for about 2.5 months. So they made 3 body variants of the 355. They had the Berlinetta, the hardtop, the GTS, which had removable panels. That's the one that Clarkson had. And then this Spider.
Made 11,000 of these cars over the course of its lifetime, from 94 to 99.
But they made 3,700 Spiders, of which 2/3 of them were actually manual. So the F1 transmission is the rarer variant. Where does the name 355 come from then, Jason?
So it comes from the size of the engine, 3.5 litre, and 5 valves per cylinder.
355.
Let's have a look, see how much luggage space we've got in this little Ferrari. The boot opening is down by the right hand side of the driver footwell. Just give it a little gentle tug. The boot opens forward on this car. Just pull it up and, oh no, sorry, dead body. No, I'm joking. Incredibly lightweight bonnet on the 355. Look, bit flexible though, so don't knock it. 220 litres of space in the boot, plenty enough to get a couple of bags in for the weekend trip away. So back in the old days when you bought a Ferrari, it was something special, and although you didn't have your shoes made for you, what you did get was a beautifully manicured leather book to keep all of your service documents and manuals in. I mean, obviously these are pristine condition because being men, we've never ever read them or opened them. So the other thing that's located in the boot is this beautiful toolkit. Now look at that. Look at that for a toolkit. Look at that. Spare cam belt, bulb kit, toe and iron, Ferrari screwdrivers. You don't get that in an F8, do you? No. Closing it takes a little bit more thought because you've got catches on either side of the car. So when you lower it down, you have to make sure you get your hand over the top and give it a little push, and then wander around to the other side of the car again, give it a little push.
Let's take you through the interior of this 355 Spider. So first of all, steering wheel. This one is the airbag equipped steering wheel, which many of you on social media have
Pilloried
me about. Obviously I could have had this replaced with the thin steering wheel.
Should have had this replaced.
Definitely should have done this. This basically needs to happen because I've seen pictures and it looks absolutely amazing. Should I mess with it or not?
Well, let's be honest, that airbag now is quite old, so I'm not sure that if you hit something you'd want it to go off, would you?
Face full of dust and cobwebs, just torn parachutes flying out of you. Ah!
I think the instrument binnacle is absolutely superb.
Yep.
That looks incredible.
Classic Veglia dials in front of you. You've got, at night, they've got like a green tinge to them. You can see also that the heat over years has caused the leather on the dashboard to shrink a little bit, particularly around the airbag. So it kind of looks like the airbag's already deployed, but actually it's just a little bit sort of withered. So that's a job that's got to be done in the future. That's one of the great things about 355s, is there's always a job to do in the future.
That costs thousands and thousands of pounds.
Got a little 355 wonkily stuck on, it's not straight.
In period classic Kenwood head unit.
In the centre you've got obviously the oil temperature gauge, fuel level gauge, and a ultra useful clock.
I like the centre console. I like these switches for locking the wheels. They are lovely, aren't they? Tactile.
Yeah, but these ones, I agree, there's quite a satisfying little snick, isn't there?
There is a satisfying snick.
So those switches there, which are, you know, they feel a little bit more substantial. They're obviously probably from the Fiat parts bin. In the old days, that would have been big old Bakelite switches, which would have never worked. You've got the central locking, lock and unlock, two separate switches, note.
Heated mirrors.
Is it? Heated mirror
like
switch.
you're going to drive this anywhere that's cold.
You've got fog lamps, and then you've got the toggle switch on the right for flicking between the comfort and the sport suspension settings. Different style buttons again. These are probably from a Fiat Punto. You've got circular buttons, which are quite,
they're all right, actually. I
they're
think
all
they're
right.
all right.
Hazards, which has got a little sort of dividing partition on it, presumably to stop you from pressing it by mistake.
Accidentally running your finger up the side and hitting hazards, maybe.
Interior light, fuel filler cap. Sometimes the little solenoid thing can go on those, which means you cannot put any fuel into it. That's happened to me. You've obviously got this beautiful chrome shifter here, which is the heart of the car as far as I'm concerned. Ventilation section, which is your air conditioning and your heating.
And then we have an ashtray.
Ashtray, smoker's package.
With a nice little Ferrari flag on it.
And then right at the back, we've got three more of these lovely snicky buttons, one either side to move the seats electrically forward and backwards, and one in the middle for operating the electric roof. Super cool drilled pedals down here, and there's a decent amount of space and gap between for your feet, so it's not too crammed down there. It's not like a Lotus or a Lamborghini. You've got good space for the 3 pedals. You've also got somewhere to rest your foot on the left, which is very nice. Clutch pedal actually has an angled part to it, which allows you again to put your foot on the rest and avoid the pedal interior. You've got the boot release down here just on arm's length, and then the engine cover here, and then the handbrake is one of those sort of drop handle type handbrakes where you pull it up, press the button in, and then let go, and then that's the handbrake off.
What are they?
And then, not forgetting, in a little compartment by the handbrake, you've got your little Ferrari gloves. Ferrari gloves! You don't want to get your hands dirty. They give you a lovely set of white Ferrari gloves, like snooker players. Another thing to highlight on 355s, in fact many Ferraris of this vintage and newer, where the plastics go all sticky and start to come off on your hand. This car suffered with it terribly. I've actually had it all treated, so you can actually take all the parts off. We're talking about all the vents, this whole centre console with all the switches, the window switches on the door and the door opening. All those were sent off and they've been treated.
Well, that wasn't expensive though at all, was it?
No, it's about 5,000 quid. Everything to do with this car is about 5,000 quid, except when it's 20,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So here we are, 355 Spider, the car that I bought in 2003, the start of it all, my first supercar.
First ever supercar.
Oh, and every single journey in this car is special.
Smells like a proper car. You can smell the fumes coming from the engine. Obviously sounds just incredible.
It's like a proper Ferrari, isn't it? I mean, you know, naturally aspirated V8. This one's going to sing all the way up to 9,000 RPM.
Which we will do.
Oh.
Which we will do.
Now here we are, we're in the English countryside, the sun is out. You'll notice going across some of these bumpy roads.
Undulation.
Yeah, you can sense the scuttle shake, can't you?
Yeah, there is a bit of that, yeah.
I remember when I
wasn't
bought...
going to mention it because you love it so much.
Well, I remember when I bought it, and I was like, it's amazing, it's got absolutely no scuttle shake whatsoever. And then I realised that cannily, the garage where I bought it from is surrounded by nothing but billiard table like roads that are super smooth.
Yeah.
As soon as I got it on some choppy stuff, I was like, way, the old steering wheel starts vibrating.
I love when we stop, we get this massive wave of hot air smacking you on the back of the neck.
It is, isn't it? Look, look. So here we go, we stop now. And then, oh, and then my neck is now burnt. Heat wave comes billowing over the top. I like the way it sort of snarls and growls at low speed as well. It feels like it feels like an organic, living thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, you do feel very connected to it as a machine.
You're getting the smells, the sounds, little fizzes, little gears going, little sort of actuators or things hissing and pinging everywhere.
Which, you know, is amazing, but at the same time really worrying because your senses are heightened. But anything that just makes the wrong type of clock or hiss or click.
Is that a rattle? It's just got so much character.
Oh, totally.
But you're right, it's this sort of like double-edged sword where you get all the joy, but then at any minute something terrible could happen. Yeah. Which fortunately, at the moment, nothing is.
It's behaved like a German car today.
It has. There's someone there. That's someone appreciating the 355 there.
Good. Not an Italian car.
I actually think that's a friend of the car guys, by the way, because I remember someone saying that he drove an Alfa Romeo sport wagon and he's seen us, and next time he would beep. So I wonder where it was.
I feel like my head is practically sticking up above that.
I actually think it is. I actually think we're getting windage on the top here.
And there can't be more than 4 inches between my forehead and the visor.
No,
so
that's really noticeable, isn't it?
You know what you do with a boiled egg with a knife? That's literally what's going to happen.
The steering rack is quite slow, so if you do lose one of these cars, and they are quite losable in a corner, you are going to struggle to get it back. You really are. You're going to get some fishtailing, and there's nothing, I don't think it's even humanly possible to twirl this quite big wheel fast enough to catch the slide.
No.
A little bit of beanage, what do you think?
I think we should have some beanage.
Here we go then. So 4,000 revs in seconds.
Ish. Oh, the sound of that thing.
That's what you get with a 355.
Oh, just glorious.
Got this huge engine bay behind us, chucking out, it has to be said, a lot of heat. There's a lot of heat.
It's very warm. But the other great thing is with the windows up, there's not a huge amount of buffeting in here either.
No, this is actually pretty good, isn't it? We're doing the motorway speed, and it's perfectly fine, isn't it? There's just a real joy in owning a sort of 80s or 90s Ferrari. It's just got something special. It's right at that point, that crossover between sumptuous, incredible 60s, a bit schlonky, a bit dodgy 70s, and then 80s and 90s. You know, you had some duds. You had your 400, you had your 348. Your Mondial, Rodney. But this was where they started to get it back and really create something special. You had like the 550, 575, you know, the Testarossa 512 TR, which was much improved, 360, 430, and then obviously the glorious 458. In terms of ownership stories or experiences, if you're looking for that on a 355 Spider, you've come to the right place.
My first experience of Ferrari really was Magnum.
Yep, as was many. This car was 60,000 quid, I think it was. It had done like 3,000 or 4,000 miles or something. It's now done 31,500 miles. So this one I have used a lot. It had been a concourse winning car. Right. That soon changed once I got hold of it, obviously. As much as it has driven me bonkers with cost over the years, this is the one that I'm going to keep forever. So what's the ownership experience been like on this car? Well, I'd have to say it's a bit mixed. It is a bit mixed, because you have days like this where the roof is down and we're gloriously singing through the country roads. Yeah. The revs are high, the engine is perfectly on cam, it's running well, everything is amazing, you're snacking through the gearbox. Oh. It's the greatest day.
Life could not get better.
Exactly, the greatest day of your life. And then you get the days where maybe it's running a little bit lumpy and it doesn't sound quite so good and it's a bit creaky, and you start thinking, is that one of the exhaust banks that's gone, or why doesn't my fuel filler cap open anymore? Make no mistake, a 355 is a very expensive car to keep. Some would say ruinously expensive. What have I had to do with this car? Right, well, we've had both exhaust banks have had to be replaced maybe twice.
Oh, twice.
You've got obviously a cam belt change every 3-4 years, which is a bigger job. Various switches and things have gone, so the indicators are a very common problem on this. So very often the bulb will go.
Oh, I bet you love that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You love an indicator.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. If one bulb goes, when you then do the indicator on the other side, it will go tick, 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 really fast. So that's how you know one of the bulbs is gone. Right. It won't tell you that, but that's how you know. So bulbs do go quite often. Nothing truly serious. It's never, you know, let a valve go or anything, or it's never sort of had a cam belt snap.
You ain't let me drive it yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've easily spent, I would say, 50,000 quid in servicing and maintenance. You've got a figure, haven't you? It's got to be at least that. I mean, consider
20 grand this year.
Yeah, considering this year was a big one, so the 20 grand one this year was exceptional. If you're going to get a 355, be prepared. Be prepared. It's not just the price of the car, it is at least that price again in maintenance over a period of time.
I've looked at these a lot over the years, and they have been really affordable, down at 40 grand at one point.
That's right, that's right.
And then you go on the forums, you do a bit of research, you look around,
you talk to me,
talk to you, and then you realise that 40 grand, basically what that is a down payment at the service department.
Well, the big problem you have with the 355 now that it is getting 30 plus years old is parts. That's part of the reason why servicing is so expensive. A lot of these parts are not made anymore, and it's a shame because that means that certain cars may not get used as much as they would otherwise do.
And cars that have got lots of problems will be taken off the road and lost forever.
Yeah, exactly. You almost get the sense with these cars that the reason why it takes so long for them to be fixed or serviced is because groups of Ferrari dealers are getting together and reopening the factory to make the parts. Yeah, I mean, because this is Ferrari's first powered hood, you've obviously got a bit of theatre. So, I mean, sort of like the Porsche, the Boxster Spider, you have to unclip the top of the roof first and then tilt it up a little bit, and then you can activate the electric motors to send it back.
So you have to do it in stages.
Yeah, it requires a bit more effort. Again, you have to be a bit more involved in the car. You know, you can't just sit back and press a button.
You're not just phoning it in, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be part of it.
Oh, balls.
Quite literally.
Quite literally.
Balls.
Balls.
You see that, ladies and gentlemen? There's a large number of cows in the road.
Cows in the road.
The beanage.
Beanage.
Let's do it.
Maximum beanage.
Oh yes, heavy on the brakes, nice, good, firm.
Well, doesn't it?
Yeah, positive, really good positive feel from the brakes. Here we go, look at that. Oh yes.
Amazing.
Straight over the hump. Oh, goes light. Bloody hell. BMW on the wrong side of the road, ladies and gentlemen. Good God. Woo. X5s, you've got to watch out for them.
Glorious. Absolutely glorious.
The steering at speed, I mean, it's not as sharp as you'd expect. There is a bit floaty, I have to say. Pitching it into a bend, there's quite a bit of play going on there.
You're not 100% sure where the front end's pointing.
No. Now let's see, let's let you take over.
Ooh, I get my turn. Fabulous. The heat coming off of this engine is just incredible. You can, honestly, I've been in saunas that are colder than this. This is something special. I have wanted to drive this car for a long time. Wow, it is floaty, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really floaty.
Really, really floaty.
Quite disconcertingly so.
Again, I think the springs are the next job.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
will improve it because they are old. What I love is that because you're changing the gears manually, you just get that nice pause in between that, which you don't get in modern cars. And also you get to enjoy all the revs as it builds. It doesn't just go
Yeah, you're not flicky.
It's old school in the best possible way.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. And I like the pedal feel as well. That clutch pedal's quite heavy.
Yeah.
You've got to give it a good hard shove to get it down. Popping and the banging as well, the exhaust. It's always something going on, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's never the same exact noise.
No.
It's always different. The thing is, every time I get back in it, it reminds me of the magic that I had that first time. And that's why I can't get rid of it. It's just too good. Listen to that. Oh, that clack from the gate.
Clack from the gate.
That's what you want. So what do we like about this car?
I like the fact that you're involved with it. I like the fact that it's a very sensual experience. Like the noise, the shape, obviously.
I love the open gated shifter and the way that you click clack through it.
Yeah.
Blip the throttle. Bit of theatre. Oh, look at that.
I love looking out the wing mirrors. That shape, that lovely haunches there.
The dials we love. the steering, the delicateness of the steering, and obviously the design, the outside design of it.
So what don't we like?
Running costs is obviously the biggest one. It is quite expensive. As much as I love this car, I mean, that latest service was pretty tough to bear.
Yeah.
Probably the fragileness, if that's a word, of the electrics is a worry. You never know how well it's going to hold together. Also, this car suffered from an engine light flickering on quite a bit, and it would actually bring in and retard the accelerator. So I had that problem for many years. It was never fixed, and the car would suddenly chop down into a safety mode. But that now, thanks to Emblem Sports Cars, that's now been fixed.
It's done.
Forever.
Forever?
Well, until the sensors go again.
I don't like your seats because I feel like I'm sitting way too high.
Right.
My eye line is somewhere near the very, so basically in line with the rear view mirror. I'd prefer to be, if I was a little bit more further down in the seat. I think that would be better. They are quite hard as well, they're quite firm.
They are quite firm.
What else don't I like? Yeah, that's about it really.
The catalytic converters are a pain in the arse in this car because they gradually degrade and break down, and when they do, it costs a lot of money and it fries lots of sensors, which basically then cost more money.
Trying to start it when it's hot.
Yes, good point. Very well made, Mr. Taylor. Yeah, when the car is hot, it doesn't start straight away. You have to give it
first turn of the key.
It's a couple of goes. Yeah, that's very common with 355s. It does mean when you sort of stop for petrol after a run, and then everyone's watching you and looking at you getting into your flash Ferrari, and then you're like, yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, I would say that's a bit annoying. And the roof mechanism, it was Ferrari's first attempt, bless them, but it's not brilliant. So it creaks, it whizzes, and after this sort of age, sometimes it needs a little bit of help going back up.
A little bit of a tap.
Yeah, so you bring it up, it sometimes stops and goes, and you just have to give it a little bit of help, kind of like you're helping an elderly relative out of an armchair.
Nice.
I love this car. It is my first love of Ferrari, but it's
annoying.
not perfect, and it's kind of those little foibles that keep a guy interested.
This has been a tremendous day. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. This has definitely ticked off one of my bucket list cars to drive. I can see why you'd want to own it for so long and why you'd never want to get rid of it.
I mean, yes, it's got its faults. It's a 90s Ferrari, for God's sake.
It's a money pit.
It is a money pit, but, you know, you've got to spend it somewhere.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah, you might as well spend it on something like this. You might as well have a bit of fun while you're on this planet.
Absolutely.
We're not here that long, are we? Thanks for watching this episode on the Ferrari 355 Spider.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments because we read every single one of them. Ding that notification bell for when we have another video uploaded, and don't forget to check us out on Instagram.
There'll be another Car Guys episode soon.